With the Kia EV6, the newly released model from the innovative model year of 2025, having been showcased to you in our comprehensive review and driving report, we have also undertaken a journey focusing on consumption together with you, to see what the consumption is like. And today with a road trip, we have to go to Brussels. There's the car show happening in Brussels this year. We'll be driving over 800 kilometers to get there, and then over 800 kilometers to return. We thought, taking the plane would be way too easy in this lovely snowfall. It's definitely better if we take you on an exciting and proper winter road trip with the brand new Kia EV6. Before we start, please check if you're already part of the Drive Electric community. If not, we would love your support with a free subscription, ensuring you won't miss out on any future electric car videos. Let's now dive right into the fantastic new Kia EV6 model. We've embarked on our exciting journey, and without a doubt, we want to seize this valuable opportunity to thoroughly discuss the initial starting point with all of you once again. And yes, today we have 1 degree, you can see it's snowing, and you have the option here with the Kia EV6. Specifically, we have the GT line. As AWD with a large battery, which means it has 84 kilowatt hours, of which you can use approximately 80 kilowatt hours net. We have the all-wheel drive, 2 electric motors, 1 on the front axle, 1 on the rear axle with 325 horsepower, 605 Newton meters of torque, and we even have the option to choose the snow program here on the drive mode switch on the steering wheel. That means if you ever find yourselves driving on a non-cleared road like we are here, you have the option to tell the car, hey, there's snow as the surface, and then Kia developed a dedicated special program for this. Yes, we reset the onboard computer specifically for our road trip. And that means we've now driven 600 meters. Consumption is still a bit high. I preconditioned the battery and the car a bit. Not through the wall box, I consciously avoided doing that. Some of you aren't able to charge at home, so you just use the app in the car instead. And from 100%, I fully charged it up until this morning, and now it's lost 3%. I find that actually okay, considering it's really nice and cozy warm here.
Or Stefan, so comfy?
Oh yeah, we're running winter tires on the 20-inch wheels, so Kia fitted the stylish 20-inch rims with the right winter tires as it should be, and we've got 255 millimeter wide tires on here, right Stefan?
Yeah, 255, sorry.
Certainly, and yes, that's fundamentally the initial starting point from which we now make our journey to Brussels for the major auto show event. We'll make a slight detour through Roermond. It just so happens to be our favorite designer outlet. I'll see if I can perhaps snag a waffle tray for my Tefl OptiGrill at a reasonable price here.
Yeah.
The classic reason why we're heading in that direction, yes. And our route will lead us through the city of Hamburg. I suppose I'll continue on either through Bremen or via Hanover. That naturally depends a bit on the traffic situation. What the GPS then does with us, we're also using the car GPS at your special request. We usually use Google Maps privately.
Yes, we've actually had the best experience with that.
However, we are certainly constructive towards you as well when you mention, hey, Ollie, it really makes sense to use the car's navigation system for your trip. Then we certainly won't shy away from this, and of course, we'll also make use of the car navigation system for you during our road trips accordingly. Testing, as it's not very significant to us since Google Maps generally offers the best traffic guidance, yes, correct.
Also with traffic jam detection and traffic obstruction, yeah, we're the fastest.
Right, that means we'll first drive about 40-50 kilometers to the highway, and then we'll give an update on the fuel consumption here overland in wintry conditions. We carefully wound our way through the snow indeed, and have now finally arrived at the A19 highway. Take a look, Stefan. We've traveled a distance of now 44,5 Kilometer and have maintained an average consumption rate of etwa 22,7 Kilowattstunden. I think it's pretty decent for the weather here at 1 degree and in the snow, right?
Yeah, with a little preheating earlier and everything. Yeah, all good.
Indeed, we decided to drive using eco mode so that we could minimize our energy consumption as much as possible. We're now driving on the A19, a short stretch to the Wittstock interchange, then onto the 24 in the direction of Hamburg, and yes, we'll be checking in occasionally whenever we've driven around a good 100 kilometers or even 150 or even up to 200, just to provide you with an update on how our consumption rate is going. We will always try, depending on the weather of course, to drive at the recommended speed, which is 130 kilometers per hour. It's also a wish from the community from you. Many of you also drive the recommended speed with the electric car, and of course we adapt to that too. Feel free to provide input so that it becomes the most meaningful and insightful for you. We've traveled quite a distance and are now approaching the outskirts of Hamburg. This suggests that by now, we should indeed be in the region of Schleswig-Holstein, I believe. Consequently, we've bid farewell to our charming Mecklenburg and traveled around a distance of 200 kilometers from our initial starting point. Exactly to his 200 kilometers and 900 meters, 2 hours 5 is the travel time, and we have an average consumption of 27. 0.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Yes, it could also be somewhat related to the weather. The road was always damp. Then due to the wintry weather here. We'll have to wait and see how things progress and evolve over the journey, which spans more than 800 kilometers all the way to Brussels. And yes, we'll definitely make a charging stop. We've planned to do this between Hamburg and Bremen at Sittensen, Ostertal North, where there's an Ionity. There we also get the maximum performance. We'll precondition the battery accordingly, so hopefully we'll see the 270 kilowatts then, Stefan, right? Yes, I'm really excited, Mr. Kurderschaft. We have passed Hamburg, currently on the A1 heading towards Bremen, and we'll have to adjust our plan, which means we won't be charging at Ionity Ostertal Nord after all. Instead, we'll be stopping here in Sievertal Hittfeld to charge at the Aral station. This fits quite well here with Kia, because with Kia you also get a Kia Charge card, where you sometimes get a waiver of the basic fee for the Kia Charge Advanced tariff. Exclusive reduced rates at Ionity, and more recently introduced about a year or so ago, also now available at Aral Pals. I do think that was introduced alongside the Kia EV9. And at present we have 10%. Battery level, implying we likely would have just barely been able to manage making it on the very last drop, so to speak. However, that's just a tad too risky for us to handle, truth be told. So we're charging from 10 to 80% right here at Aral Pals over in Sievertal. Everything's good. We have plugged our Kia EV6 right here at the Aral Pals station in Sievertal. So after a good 270 kilometers, you could say we had 10% left in the car. The column showed 10%, and we've actually built up a very, very nice charging peak at 206 kilowatts. It can reach up to 270 kilowatts and charge from 10 to 80% in about 17 to 18 minutes. We also don't have any coal money because the car automatically preconditioned the battery here for the charging station. These are really efficient systems that you can combine. Many of you often ask me, hey Ollie, how do you actually charge your electric cars? There are manufacturer charging cards, like I mentioned, and with Kia too. But I use free kilometers from InCharge. You're wondering, how do you get free kilometers? So there is an InCharge app and there is an InCharge web browser. And there you have the opportunity to collect free kilometers through online shopping, opt out of InCharge challenges, or also rate charging stations. All this means we've already covered over 50,000 kilometers for free. And let's check again. We're now at 22% after 4 minutes, charging at 207 kilowatts. That's the significant advantage of having an 800-volt system, which typically allows you to charge at a remarkably quick speed. Are you as excited as I am?
On what then?
Well, if he did 1080 in 17 or 18 minutes.
Yeah, let's check it out, I'd say.
Certainly right here at the Aral charging station, we have managed to reach 81% in a span of just 21 minutes and 54 seconds. Seconds reached, 64 kilowatt hours recharged. It's still charging at 78, 79 kilowatts, and it probably took about 40 or 50 seconds, as Stefan timed, until it even started charging. Communication, plugging in, all that stuff after plugging in, we actually need to deduct that. Ultimately, he's indeed about a solid 10% over and above the best possible charging promise provided by Kia. 0 or 1 degree. Was just gonna say nice in winter.
I think that's totally bearable. You should have a great edge.
You're welcome to comment on what you think about all this. It's crucial to acknowledge that he didn't manage to achieve it within his very best possible time frame. We continue driving with the EV6 towards Brussels, and you can see the weather is somehow getting worse again. The snowfall is picking up intensity again, but the highway has been thoroughly treated with a good amount of salt and other tools by the road service here, ensuring that you can actually still drive safely. About 130 km/h. With the EV6, so the recommended speed, I think, given the traffic conditions. We will update you a little later on, around plus or minus 400 kilometers, to provide a detailed update on consumption and certainly to share how everything is progressing with the EV6 on this exciting road trip. As it unfolds. We've successfully managed to cover 400 kilometers on our exciting road trip to Brussels. As you can clearly see right here, it's even 400.8 kilometers. The consumption is at 27.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. The driving time is probably 3 hours 57 minutes. That means it should be approximately 100 kilometers per hour on average.
Certainly, yes, from my thumb.
We try to drive around 130 here whenever traffic allows it. The snow seems to be turning into rain a bit here. We're making our way further west now, and we're also flying into the southern area. After that, we'll be heading towards North Rhine-Westphalia. Yes, what the Kia EV6 unfortunately struggles with is that when we encounter bad weather conditions, such as what we are facing right now, the driving assistance systems have a tendency to become quite limited or less effective overall. The radar appears especially affected here. Take a look, Stefan. This indicates that the lane keeping and steering assist systems are still operating as they should be though. However, if I attempt to engage smart cruise control at this point, it simply indicates that the radar is obstructed. I really wish it could be handled in the same manner as other premium manufacturers typically do. BMW and Mercedes have strategically placed heating elements in front of their radar systems to ensure they don't freeze or get blocked by snow, ice, or adverse conditions, thereby consistently maintaining reliability and performance.
Sure, in this weather, that's clearly useful.
Because now, after 400 kilometers, going here at a speed of 100 would be kind of nice.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, he's unable to do it at the moment. After driving for 471 kilometers, we'll finally exit the highway. So here we are, having traveled approximately 200 kilometers further on from our previous charging station, which was located back at Arles-Pals. We still have 19% battery left. We could probably go a bit further. That's likely the choice Stefan discovered. It truly is the perfect location for us to quickly recharge and make sure everything is ready for us to proceed efficiently on our journey. Yes, the weather is still not very nice. We have now taken 4 hours and 38 minutes for the 471 kilometers. Yes, and they have a consumption of 27.4 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. We drove at 130 wherever possible, and where it wasn't feasible to go that fast, we drove a bit slower. Because the highway wasn't completely cleared of snow in some places, and yes, of course, we don't want to take any risks here with the sleek EV6, just to maybe be a few minutes closer to our destination. We always stress safety first, but I'm certain that's something you also prioritize. Today, we're planning to charge at Shell, as Shell offers this rapid fast charging station. I don't even remember the name of the manufacturer where it beeped so nicely, and now they've got these new things here. I don't even know which manufacturer they're from. In any case, we want to try them out. They're supposed to handle up to, I don't know how many kilowatts, Stefan.
According to Air Electric, it specifically mentions 360.
So if he gives us 270, we're happy, right?
Yep.
So let's test it. Quick recharge, always trying something new here on the channel, and see how fast the EV6 can charge at these stations. That's precisely the key reason I no longer choose to really go to Shell or similar stations anymore. Because when she arrives and all four are meant to be working, but as she approaches the pillar, it just states out of order. So now you can obviously plug it into the Nissan Ariya as well, but somehow it's just uncool, isn't it? Then they should at least make sure it's displayed in the app, whether it's Air Electric or in the car itself, whatever the case may be. It was indicated that 3 charging points are available. And it's just that here, at most, only one is actively charging, and another point is technically possible. I don't see what's so difficult about displaying charging points that are genuinely functioning and available. We've arrived at the Shell recharge station with a battery level of 19%. At this moment, it's gradually starting to establish its optimal charging peak here. I'm really curious to see how exactly we'll perhaps manage to share the charging power here. We are now charging at 62 kilowatt. It's slowly ramping up. Just now, a nice first generation Audi e-tron showed up, which of course drove off right away because the other station doesn't seem to work at all. And it's just frustrating that even by early 2025, we still can't seem to get it right with electromobility, that there are always some problems that arise and this doesn't work and that doesn't work. I don't care why it doesn't work, but let's not fool ourselves. That's also one of the main reasons why electromobility simply doesn't function properly. And I get every combustion engine driver who says, you know what, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I want to go to Brussels for business because I want to attend a car show there, then I want to shoot my videos there, and then I want to go back. Unless I need to stop to pee, I can drive straight through. So, I really don't have to worry about whether any gas station might have gasoline or not available. Mostly they do. So, and now I'm charging here roughly at 156 kilowatts because, yeah, either the car can't go any faster or maybe the Shell recharge station can't go faster right now. Now we're at 161 kilowatts. So somehow there's always something. And I just find it kind of not forward-looking. We had the same problems 3 or 4 years ago, so somehow no progress is visible. But somehow we can't get beyond 178 kilowatts. No.
Well, okay, we'll probably be sharing the charging current here too.
A Nissan Ariya charges, if I recall, at up to 150 kilowatts. So, if this one's been here a bit longer, then with 100 kilowatts as well. But it might be possible that this station actually halves the dry 160 kilowatts, you know? Yeah. And then can charge up to a maximum of 180 kilowatts. If you know, feel free to write it in the comments. I stopped the charging process at 78%. We added almost 53 kilowatt hours. He was just fiddling with about 100 kilowatts here. That's more than enough for us to comfortably continue driving on towards our destination in Holland. And then we'll check in again shortly with updates from our journey. We're back on the road once more, driving along. Stefan, in his considerate manner, is taking on the important duty of driving us the rest of the way towards the city of Brussels. We enjoy taking turns every now and then. This way, I can also write a bit more for the T&E magazine if you happen to be interested. Feel free to take a look at the TE magazine, where I'm the one doing the car tests. These are featured weekly in the newsletter and then every quarter also in the magazine. By the way, I followed up once again with Shell. That somehow wouldn't let me rest easy. All the pumps are functioning perfectly at the Shell, so those with combustion engines are really quite fortunate. There were no wait times at all, and the man at the counter mentioned that generally it's around 3 to even 5 minutes, depending on the tank size, before you're back on the road again. Shell's still going really well for us, and we'll continue traveling with the ePort 6 towards our destination of Brussels. Once we hit 600 kilometers, we'll provide further information regarding our consumption. Barely are we in North Rhine-Westphalia, we hit the first traffic jam. Very nice. Welcome to NRW. The region we're trying to go with the traffic flow is nearly impossible, isn't it?
Right? There's no going with the flow here.
Yes, that's why you like to come to us in Mecklenburg, I believe.
Passed by the best water today on the street. Maybe one could really just go for a little swim.
Yeah, or like stand-up paddling or something like that. Yeah, exactly. We also have a new update. Namely, Stefan continued nicely here, and we now have 601,9 kilometers, or now 602. Have been on the road for 5 hours 55. So we're keeping our 100er average constant. And a consumption of 26.7 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Can't really complain about that, right?
Yeah, all's well. He's doing fine.
Yeah, the weather has also become somewhat friendlier somehow, as it's not snowing anymore and it's not quite as nasty out there. We're currently at 3 degrees now, right?
Yes.
So there's probably a bit of thaw again here. Yeah, we're probably just going through this meteorological winter zone driven like that.
I think we're at the very edge, have managed to get this far. I believe it was probably nicer somewhere in central Germany.
Yeah, we have 101 kilometers left to Roermond, to the designer outlet, where I want to get my waffle bowl. And yes, we have about 41% battery remaining, so we'll definitely be taking another short charging break. By the time we reach Roermond, we'll be sure to update you with the next status. We're currently traveling on the A40 in Niederdorf. Niederdorf, which might mean something like a low village or something similar. We have now exited off the highway and currently have run 19% left in the battery. Here, there's an Pulse station where we should be able to charge efficiently up to a full 300 kilowatt. It might indeed be a great idea to recharge the battery a little bit more here before reaching the Dutch border near Roermond.
Absolutely, most definitely, without a doubt.
Uploading mobile data, I've got this Vodafone Black Business tariff, and it's really quite an art form in and of itself, don't you think? So for 2 hours, while Stefan has been driving, he's managed to use about 3.8 gigabytes out of 14.2 from our usage path. Yes.
I certainly do indeed find this right over here.
Yes, there's a nice truck stop here. Look, there are four wonderful Alpatronics. This is truly awesome here, right? Exactly, very good. Arl is being generous. They didn't set up so many charging points by now for nothing. It's absolutely fantastic that we have the opportunity to quickly give the battery a boost and recharge it efficiently here. We're now at 20% charged, having plugged in. All of a sudden, it established the connection pretty quickly. Yeah. It went straight up to 156, 157 kW. That's all right. The station can do 300 kW if we're charging alone here. With Pulse, you also have the opportunity to collect those delightful payback points.
Yes, very good. Can definitely recommend it to others. We do it too when we stop at Errol.
And oddly enough, there's always some sort of coupon, like 6 8-fold or even multiple times 8-fold. So this is kind of really quite nice, yeah? I honestly don't think there's any other charging provider where you get an additional little benefit like this.
Can't think of one now.
Think about it, you're charging almost free with your free kilometers like we do.
Yes, absolutely.
Already over 50,000 kilometers and then you still get payback points.
Yes, very good. And the payback points can be exchanged nicely.
If you're interested in the free kilometers, check the video description. I find that quite intense, over 50,000 kilometers, right?
That's a whole lot.
If we scale this up, I believe we're doing this within charge for 5 years now come May, isn't that correct? Yes, yeah. Almost 5 years. So it's really crazy. It's just such a cool startup that somehow consistently works. There are always startups that come and go, but in charge is really top. A big shout out to the colleagues over there, and yes, definitely feel free to check it out.
Just noticed something, by the way.
What is it?
Look, here you're allowed to charge for a maximum of 1 hour.
Yes.
We'd actually be breaking the law with some electric car manufacturers because their vehicles take over an hour to charge. Well.
Yes, I do believe it is still around, but there's also something else that I've noticed.
No.
Well, because you had another smoke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've now gone over the 20 minutes. Look, we're at 83%. He's playing around with 62 kilowatts too, which aren't our values. We added 58 kilowatt hours in 22 minutes. So, that means we were able to get back to 80% from 19 after just a swift 18 minutes with the EV6, right?
Cool, sure.
We absolutely should have enough battery power now to comfortably reach our favorite designer outlet for my cherished waffle cone craving.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll get lucky if a spot's free, even briefly. We should easily be able to reach Brussels on just the battery charge without needing to recharge. It seems we will likely be driving over 800 kilometers with 3 charging stops that total about an hour of charging time altogether. At 100 kilometers per hour, we'd be driving 9 hours. That's still fairly reasonable, right? That's absolutely fine. I think so too. I completely agree. We're continuing our journey to Roermond. We arrived in Roermond with a state of charge at 76%. We have now traveled approximately 699,5 kilometers in 7 hours and 3 minutes, with an average consumption of around 26,6 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Plus 1 hour of charging, we basically did it in 8 hours. Is that all right with you, Stefan?
Yes, I think so too. That was good.
So that means we're shopping now to see if we can find a waffle mold. By the way, there's also Tesla next door now. Brand new, I've never seen it before. There's a Tesla store here as well, so you can actually shop at the designer outlet and at Tesla, right?
Sure.
Stefan and I have finished in Roermond. Stefan did a lot of chopping, didn't he?
Absolutely. It was just a little thing, wasn't it?
Stefan treated himself to a fancy suit. It felt like somehow it was marked down twice or something.
That ended up being around 50 to 60% off in the end, if I'm not mistaken. Quite good.
Yeah, he paid about a quarter of the normal price, so I don't know how he did it. Unfortunately, I still haven't yet received my waffle what's-it thingy from the Tefl Opti Grill that I had ordered here online. That means we will eventually go on another road trip with all of you to visit Roermond again. It's quite clear, isn't it? But for now, we're headed off to Brussels, where we'll check into our fancy hotel. That's 137 kilometers. We should arrive at 21:23, so just over 1 hour, 23 minutes travel time from Roma. That's all right, right? It's a mockery, yeah. And then I would say, we'll check in at the latest once we reach the hotel. Welcome to Brussels. We have finally arrived in the city with a state of charge of 22% remaining. I was thinking, we are currently charging at Allego. At Brussels Airport, yes, our hotel is also nearby. With 155 kilowatt, we can of course perfectly precondition on the track. We definitely have to go to the Brussels Fair tomorrow for the auto show, which is something we cannot skip. And of course, we want to make sure there's plenty of charge in the battery to easily drive back with you from Brussels to Neustrelitz the day after tomorrow. That means we'll take a little moment to charge up. I think about 20-25 minutes, up to 80%. That should actually be completely sufficient. And yes, then we'll check in again shortly to let you know how long it took. And once we're at the hotel, we'll look at the consumption and the total distance today from Neustrelitz via Roermond to Brussels. You have to hand it to the Kia. No matter when you plug it in, it always takes about 20 minutes to charge to 80%, right?
Pretty much, exactly.
Whether you start at 10, 19 or 22, what's key is the approach and determination you bring into the process. He does it so confidently, like an internal clock saying, hey, they want exactly 20 minutes, right?
True, yeah.
I would suggest that we make our way over to the hotel and then draw our initial conclusions. We've now arrived at the hotel and we'll take another detailed look at the onboard computer with you. Today, we've journeyed a total of 856.5 kilometers with you all in a span of 8 hours and 52 minutes. The average energy consumption throughout the entire route was measured at 26.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. I think that's okay with these icy temperatures when it's 2 degrees again here in Brussels. Tomorrow we're going to quickly make another trip to the fair and then we'll return to the hotel, of course. And after that, we'll check in on Saturday when we begin our journey back to Neustrelitz, departing from the hotel. A very good morning from Brussels, and indeed we have a wonderful one here. Stefan, as producer, has once again found us a dream hotel, the Ibis Budget Airport at Brussels Airport. But honestly, for 47 euros with breakfast, there's really nothing to complain about, right?
It was fine, yes.
Very clean, everything's neat. So if you're looking for a budget hotel in Brussels, we've stayed here 2 more nights and can recommend it. Next door, there's even a 3-star option for more comfort and style. As you see, we aim for cost optimization, not only when traveling by electric car, but staying budget-friendly on our business trips. Absolutely. Business trip, that's the perfect segue. We now want to do the road trip back from Brussels to the airport and then to Neustrelitz with the faceless of the Kia EV6, and of course, we'll take you along on the return journey. That's about 827 kilometers, right?
Yes, depending on how you direct us today.
That's right, the A1 is somewhat shut down because of some construction work with full closures happening over the weekend. We probably have to drive along the A2 to Hanover, either Hamburg or Berlin. You'll see everything right away because we're now starting off with the brand new Kia EV6 and the return trip to Neustrelitz. We are beginning with you from the car's initial setup. The route has been successfully entered into the Kia's precise navigation system. It is 851 kilometers. Yes, and a driving time of 10.5 hours. However, 4 charging stops are also included. Let's see how the car performs in terms of consumption. So it's taking us through Hanover and then past Berlin up to Neustrelitz. Let's check the speedometer over here, and we've covered some distance. We were still driving around a bit in Brussels. 889.6 kilometers, Kia EV6, 26.7 kilowatt hours average. Yesterday we drove about a good 30 kilometers here again, charged up a bit to 91% state of charge. That's pretty much the starting point for getting going. I'd say let's not waste any more time. Now we're really off, and every 200 kilometers, we'll check if the consumption changes significantly. We're in Gladbeck at the Thunderfalk Hotel, where the Fastnet station is supposed to be. I was quite thrilled about this, especially considering how things are in Holland. Everywhere Fastnet charging stations can be found along the highways, and I really think that's a fantastic thing. I mentioned to Stefan, Hey, why don't we see if we can spot a Fastnet station along our route so we can give it a try? Yes, we'll check the interim result, I'll give you all an update, and at this point, we have managed to travel a total of 1,133.5 kilometers, all within 12 hours and 4 minutes, and we've had an average energy consumption of 26.7 kilowatt hours. That's naturally also somewhat due to the fact that Stefan has been ecologizing the whole area around here. In Holland and Berlin, but it wasn't voluntary because, you see, in Belgium it was around 90 with a harsh mix of fog, heavy snow and ice, and then in Holland it's typically around 100, of course. And of course he can't be blamed for that. But the Dutch are so clever and want to increase their speed again. So where some Germans are demanding that we need a speed limit, it apparently seems to really annoy the Dutch quite a bit as well. And they want to raise it from 100 to 120 or 30.
Yep, sometimes we don't reach 130.
Because they just noticed that the traffic seems to be more at a standstill than actually flowing smoothly. Let's plug it in. The current battery level is now at 14%, and we're planning to charge it all the way up to around 70 or even 80%. Hopefully that should get done in about plus or minus 20 minutes or so. The first plug we tried unfortunately didn't work. He still hasn't built up a charging spike after over 3 minutes. Now we've changed the plug. Now it's charging here, you see, at 14% with 105.7 kWh. It's slowly going up. That's just one of those little issues you have with e-mobility. That doesn't happen when refueling. You place the nozzle, press, and then it starts flowing, isn't that right?
When do the pillars ever break?
I don't think I've ever experienced that before, so I wouldn't know when, no idea. But then the plug isn't functional and the charging pillar fails, rendering the charging station out of service, just like on the journey there. Then you move the car and share the charging power. Those are all things where I can understand that some people just say, especially those who travel a lot, like we do almost every week, it feels like. 1,000 kilometers or more, they'll eventually just get fed up and be completely annoyed by electromobility. And then this constant, then I can do emails, then I can eat. Yeah, sorry, it's already 11:30. I had a really good breakfast back in Brussels. I'm definitely not going to eat anything here right now. I did my emails on the way as Stefan drove. I also wrote a report for the T&E magazine. Sometimes it's also the case that you can just get things done while on the go and not wait for a charging break and say, oh man, I don't have a dog like that either. Where I can somehow go for a walk. I can't entertain kids either. Now I'm actually standing here in the cold, uncovered. Thank God it's not raining, and now I can actually, Stefan, if you swing over, take a look at the Van der Valk Hotel over there. That maybe I can somehow get a reasonably priced or perhaps more expensive coffee at the hotel so I can at least enjoy a nice coffee, right? Yeah.
Great idea.
And you can probably go with pull-on, right?
Absolutely.
The staff at the Van der Valk Hotel were incredibly friendly. You can use the restroom for free and also enjoy a coffee to go. I really think the house is quite nicely done here. When combined with the convenient fast charging station, of course, we've lost just a little bit of time again. So we've charged for a total of 25 minutes and have reached 87%, which is comfortably enough. We'll unplug right away and head further towards Neustrelitz. It's that time again. When we need some fresh power, and here in Autal Süd, located before Hanover, we've found this nice Ionity station, where we can boost our battery a little bit more, because at this point we now have 60% state of charge in the battery and have impressively traveled a distance of 1,326.9 kilometers. The average consumption is reported to be 27.2 kilowatt hours, since Stefan has been known to sometimes reach speeds of 150. Yes.
How does it look on the German Autobahn? You can drive a bit faster there, right?
Certainly, and of course we needed to make up some ground from Belgium and the Netherlands.
Definitely, yes, and that's what we did.
Let's quickly charge from 16 to 80%, then continue on our way. I experimented with the plug and charge feature and didn't accumulate any mileage with the uncharged free kilometers. That implies that Kia, as far as I'm aware, also provides the convenient plug and charge service at both Ionity and Aral Pals. I read about it, discovered it in the car, activated it, and it works nicely. Because otherwise I always charge with the free kilometers. That means In Charge is an app, a web browser, where you have the opportunity to collect free kilometers through affiliate links, so to speak. Also through challenges or by rating charging stations. And that's how Stefan and I managed to charge for free for over 50,000 kilometers. If you're interested, feel free to check out the video description and give it a try. I could imagine, especially if you use it alongside the Mango electric vehicle card, you simply hold it up. It's really straightforward. So you don't have to take this step, that step, and another step. Just connect Maingau with in charge, and then the free kilometers basically go into the car. Ah, Stefan treated us again, right? Coffee fellows and all, I thought it wasn't the same. No.
Has to be macchiato.
Yes, that's honestly, I would say, quite probably the main explanation for why lots of people... In e-mobility, the parcels are likely similar to me, right? I don't know. Then the charging time, which you wouldn't have otherwise since you'd finished the race. You're eating something, drinking something because you have to manage to get through like here for about 20-21 minutes. Which is very fast because we've already recharged almost 61 kilowatt hours from 19 to 83%. And yes, now we're rushing past Hanover, then continuing eastwards. And soon we'll check how much further we have to get home. So now Daddy's driving again so we can make some real progress here. Yeah, let's take a look together to see where we stand. We still have etwa 412 kilometers remaining. We've also made up over an hour so far. We were supposed to be in Neustrelitz at 7:30. Now it's already 6:15, and we'll keep pushing forward because, of course, we don't have any time to waste and have families waiting at home, which are naturally waiting for us somehow. Yes, the consumption is now at 27.2 kilowatt hours. Yeah, but let's just cruise nicely at 150 with the distance control cruise control, I'd say. Absolutely, that's how we should keep going. So we've made it to Hamburg and we've discovered a truly excellent Aral pulse charger here. It's really great and we're planning to use it to top up our charge one more time. Yes, we are at 18% state of charge here for charging. And I think we still have a good 220 kilometers to get home. I don't know exactly from this point here, and I think this is an ideal point to address to check consumption. We've now driven 1,509.4 kilometers in 15 hours. We've regained our 100 average and are now at 17.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. I think that's all okay, and we'll just charge here again, I believe, to 80% to get home. I don't think I mentioned it at all. We actually originally wanted to go via Berlin. Then we noticed that Hanover has such bad weather, so logically we checked the weather report. Where the weather is better, namely in the north, it was better than on this horizontal tangent from Hanover to Berlin, so to speak. We then decided to take a short notice drive on the A357 or A352 to the A7 towards Hamburg because the weather here in Hamburg is nice, even though it's freezing cold and windy. 2 degrees, but it's nicer to drive because there was some snow flurry and near Hanover about 1 degree than driving through a bad weather zone. We want to charge fast here with 205 kilowatt, starting at 18%. And then we'll see how many kilometers we actually have left to get home and sort of calculate the battery usage so that we roughly make it. If it comes down to it, there are several charging options along the route where we could stop and plug in for, say, a brief 5 minutes or so. But we don't want that, of course, because every time it's jacket on, jacket off, plug in, wait until the charger is ready, and so on and so forth. Wow, it's a bit chilly, right? You wouldn't believe how icy the wind is here in Hamburg, right? I don't know how they endure it, except in St. Pauli where it's calm. But let's return to the topic. We need to drive 243 kilometers, and in a span of 20 minutes, we increased our SOC to 83% from 18. He really stepped on it again, almost 59 kilowatt hours. And now it's the compromise. Either we drive really slowly, then we'll definitely make it, I think, home. Or we might need to quickly add more energy for 5 minutes. I think we'll decide that spontaneously, depending on how we do, right?
Energy boost.
We have completed 3 charging stops in total, altogether adding up to 60 minutes. Wouldn't be too bad, would it?
Yeah, that might fit, yeah.
We're nearly back home. We're essentially traveling on the last stretch of about 20 kilometers. And I actually had to reduce my speed a bit because I genuinely didn't feel like having to charge the car in the cold once more, right?
No, the closer we get to home, the colder it becomes. It wasn't windy at all.
Yes. Currently, we have roughly 20 kilometers remaining and still 58 kilometers of battery life. As promised in earlier videos and again in this video, we wanted to have a chat with you about the aspects of travel comfort. So we now have a total of 1,720 kilometers under our belt. And Stefan also has the right equipment for this, medium, so to speak, to also, in a manner that is relatively neutral, balanced, and comparable with the other subjects to accurately measure a deviation. And this particular medium is none other than the widely recognized and much loved Stefan's popometer. Stefan, what are the readings looking like today?
I must say I have absolutely no problems here, neither with my back nor my behind. The atmosphere just feels completely relaxed here. You can sit quite comfortably, even over long distances. Whether you're the driver or the passenger, it truly makes no difference. I genuinely think it's amazing, and I'm thrilled with it.
Yeah, I also believe that the new suspension tuning adjustment, or maybe even a new suspension, I'm not quite sure, significantly contributes to the comfort. Well, these harsh, bumpy jolts. I also noticed when I wrote the new article for next week's T&E magazine that you can now work properly from the passenger seat. Previously, it used to be a bit uncomfortable at times, depending on the different road conditions. And another thing I've noticed, I mean, this is new now because I think in our previous one it wasn't equipped with that yet. We used to have to slightly tug on the steering wheel so it could recognize it to ensure we're attentive with hands on the wheel, but I'm not sure. You're welcome to comment if I'm mistaken. It's definitely capacitive now. That means you just have to place 2 or 3 fingers on the steering wheel and then it basically detects our attention, which of course on a stretch of over 1,700 kilometers. Where we also enjoy the semi-autonomous support, it's really pleasant.
Absolutely, yes.
So I believe Kia has taken some really good steps forward with the facelift, particularly when it comes to reducing interior noise levels inside the vehicle. You rarely hear any little stones hitting the wheel arch. You hardly notice wind noise or the sounds of oncoming traffic anymore. So I believe precisely as we measured it in our detailed review, the interior noises have become significantly more pleasant. The only thing that might still be a disadvantage is this European rule that if you drive 1 kilometer per hour too fast, it always rings. But you can only turn it off here if you also turn off the traffic sign recognition or if I have a wrong function, like an application error, because it's so annoying. When I'm driving 71 at 70, it starts beeping, and everyone around thinks I'm going 20 too fast. I obviously don't drive like that because, as always with you, for you all, together of course within the framework of proper traffic regulations, well, we're driving up the long driveway to the chalet. Just kidding, it's the last few meters home. Let's take a detailed look at what we've accomplished, covering a total of 1,733.3 kilometers over the course of 17 hours and 17 minutes. Of course, the 2 hours of recharging are missing, so to speak. We have a consumption of 27.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and we were always driving around ±0 degrees. Once 1, 2, 3 over, sometimes 1, 2 under. And I think for such a cross-utility vehicle, which also weighs good 2 tons, with us probably and luggage maybe even up to 2.5 tons with the big battery and all-wheel drive, I believe that's an acceptable value for the winter.
That's absolutely fine. I think so too.
We've consistently hit the 1080 in 20 minutes or even 18 on 80 in 20 minutes or sometimes in less than 20 minutes, over 80% charged.
That's really just utterly nonsensical.
So I really have to say those are definitely fair values. And you certainly must give the Kia EV6, even with the facelift, a well-deserved compliment for its impressive range distances. We have now arrived, and with this we reach the conclusion of today's full video. I sincerely hope that the road trip, as a conclusion from the series with the 3 videos of the EV6, if you liked it, please feel free to check again if you are part of our community. We would be truly thrilled if you supported us with your subscription so we can continue to create more videos like these. It is completely free for you and such a huge help for us, aiding the channel to grow and flourish even more over time. Yes, we say thank you for watching, stay healthy and see you soon. Yours, Ollie. Hey, Stefan. Well, I still find it, even though it's gotten dirty after 1,700 kilometers, just amazing, this daylight running light, right?
Yeah, that looks pretty cool, doesn't it?
You know, just like this with the boomerang all around and then once again right through the center and then back with the boomerang. That's just super stylish.